Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Block Party number 24. This is the 24th 24-hour Block Party. So that's pretty exciting. And we are here in the second of two Food Healers segments that we have at every Block Party from 7 to 9 a.m. and 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time, and led by Silas. And, we've been talking about what we talked about now, between 12 and 10 hours ago. We've been talking about that throughout the day, and it's just fast becoming this model solution that's just like, hello, Newton's apple hits him on the head, and it's just like, duh, right? It's as obvious as having a modern sewage system in the city of London, whereas they used to throw the stuff out the window. I mean, it's time for food on tap. It's as simple as that. Nothing else is going to solve it. No packaged solution is going to solve it, or will create, anyway. This is the obvious solution. We just have to do it. And obviously different menus in different parts of the world. I get it. But the fundamentals is the same. We need a stew that if you eat nothing else, you'll be fine. Alrighty, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Silas, and happy to see you back here. And Silas, thank you for leading us. Thank you for stepping out and just doing it. You are the original Stone Soup provocateur, orchestrator, leader. So please continue. And we're just humbled and grateful to be with you on this journey.
Yeah, I have to tell you, it's not me. It's Kimaya is the one who's been running this particular stew. It's her recipe pretty much, She tells me what she likes and I keep adding, and anyway, it's Kimaya. Let me see if I can share the document I wrote.
Yeah. Here, let me make you co-host so you can do that. And let me just tell Sarah what's going on, okay? Sarah, you now have a menu of 3 different topics to choose from. You have a continuation of A New Story for Humanity with Michael Gallo in breakout room number 1. You have a continuation of Vegans of Color with Kyla Cruz, Jackie and Melvin in breakout room number 2, or you can stay here for Food Healers in the main room. Totally up to you. And you can always message me by chat if somebody wants to move, but it's easy. You'll get faster response if you just tell me. Silas,
I'm
back to
going
you.
to be in Food Healers, and Jane is about to go live and needs me to moderate, but I'm trying to work through both. But I'm 100% committed to Food Healers.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah. So Silas, you're good to go to share anytime.
Okay. Yeah, it's just opening up. I don't think it's, for some reason my computer has been acting up today. Not letting me edit correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I mean, you say you've been discussing this for the last 12 hours since we first talked about it.
Not nonstop. I'm just saying it's come to different parts of the conversation. It's a recurring theme, and there's a tremendous excitement. Yeah.
Right. See, there was there was some famine or something that happened. I remember reading it a few weeks ago, but I cannot seem to find that link again. Okay. There was some famine that happened in some Southeast Asian country. And the king basically said, everybody is going to cook this and eat. Okay, and it's basically like a stew. I remember it being some kind of a stew. And it was a stew that had all the nutrition that the people needed. And then when everyone realized they were all cooking the same thing, they felt that sense of community among themselves. Right? So that's how we brought the people together.
And this is true history. This isn't some folk tale. This is true history, right?
This is true history, yeah.
Okay.
It's also a bit of rehabilitation for our culture because we're in such a culture of selection. We go to these restaurants. I remember the Pickle Barrel restaurant in Toronto used to have like about 20 pages with hundreds of things you could choose from. just sitting down, and that's a terrible thing to foist upon my family, because they can't make a decision in a regular restaurant. And there's this fear of, what if I order the wrong thing? I've spoiled my dining experience by choosing the wrong thing. You know, this idea of personal experience has its merits, yet I think that joining a community with food and eating all the same thing has a unifying effect that we need more than we need to be our foodie and congratulate ourselves on on making the right choice out of the menu. That seems to be the game that we play. Can't hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, it works in two ways, right? First, it unites people, that we are all eating the same thing, or, around the world. It's pretty much the same recipe or whatever. And so we feel like, we are all part of the same humanity that is now working together to do something. And secondly, since you're cooking in such huge volumes, the cost just plummets, and otherwise, when you say, I want my specific thing, then people have to keep all the ingredients for your specific thing, right, ready. And most of the time they have to just chuck it because no one orders it or whatever. So, they have to be good at it. And so it creates a lot of waste in the food system. I think restaurants create a lot of waste in the food system, and it inflates the cost. It inflates the cost.
Did I tell my Caribbean restaurant story already? There was a restaurant that our family went to many years ago, and we liked the food, but they barely ever had anything. We'd order something and say, "Oh, sorry, we haven't got that." Okay, how about this? No, we haven't got that. After like 4 or 5 tries, we go, "Well, what do you have?" "Oh, we got everything else." So, and this happened every time we went there. And it was funny because every time we finally got something to eat, we enjoyed it. We thought, "Okay, this is great." Right. And afterwards, I'm thinking, well, this must be a cultural thing, because I've been to other Caribbean restaurants that weren't quite as bad as this one, but they always ran out of certain things because they're trying to create that minimal amount of get through the end of the day without having to throw out a bunch of things at the end. And that wasn't something I really appreciated at the time. But reflecting upon it, it's obviously a cultural thing that you respect food and you don't waste it. And it must be like horrific to come to this culture and just see the amount of waste and the expectation of having so many things on the menu that are just going to sit there until they spoil and they get thrown out. And you can see on Garbage Day in Chinatown, like, there's so many restaurants there, they just pile up the sidewalks with garbage. And as I mentioned, as soon as the COVID crisis hit, and I'm following the narrative of the meat industry and how much of a panic they are, and specifically because the restaurants were closed. And right. Of course, people aren't eating less meals. They aren't eating less meat, presumably. Why are they panicking? Because a huge part of that waste is these entrees. They're meat entrees. The way that restaurants buy meat is different than the way a supermarket buys meat, and we buy meat from the supermarket. It's almost got this waste built into it.
Right. Yeah. They need that, Okay, hold on. Let me start sharing.
So I've been anti-restaurant for the last couple of weeks, and it's a few vegans. I could see them bristling a little bit because vegans really love their restaurants, and you kind of get committed to this idea that we're gonna win when all the restaurants switch over. But I truly imagine a huge reset where our economy gets shuffled and restaurants just become this commodity that maybe isn't that realistic during a pandemic. And then afterwards, we start to rebuild. And that's a framework where you have those mega corporations like the fast food joints crippled to a degree, so that they don't have this dominance over the landscape. And there isn't this culture of you'll never be hungry because there's always a McDonald's. There's always a McDonald's there. So we got to figure out how to always make food available to people, even if they're traveling, even if they're just taking a trip across town.
Yeah, but you see, the entire system depends on keeping people hungry, right? A certain number of people have to be kept hungry so that they do the scut work that no one else wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
We want to feed community, so there'll be your community. You come back from work, and you know that there's going to be food waiting for you. If you want to get fancy, and if you want to have a special dinner, you can always do that. But just like a minimum basic nutrition for everybody, that's something you don't have to worry about anymore.
Anyway, can you see the document I'm sharing?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because I see this as much more than food. We are literally, upending the entire civilization, right, with this food app or the Food Healers Initiative. So I see it as a cooperative initiative that seeks to alleviate world hunger and rebuild a crumbling industrial civilization on a foundation of robust health. Okay, so that's the idea, is that you start by making this healthy food available to people at next to nothing, no cost. And so then people start getting healthy and they don't have to do things that they don't want to do. So this is basically the rationale for it, because the COVID-19 has created an upheaval, and they're talking about doubling the number of people who are hungry by the end of 2020, and in the US it's going to go up by 50%. So, and it does not have to be, because in any family of 5 people, if 4 people have plenty to eat, they will definitely share with the 5th person, right? So I'm saying, we are a family of 7.8 billion people. So if 6.2 billion people have plenty to eat, we definitely are willing to share with the other 1.6 billion people. Right? So it's like, from a scaling perspective, it seems obvious that we should be doing this, especially when people are losing jobs for no fault of their own. So that's the idea behind the app and Food Healers, is to get community kitchens with citizens who wish to eat healthful. And basically, I said, here is just one stew that we all have to do. We're all doing this one stew. And the idea is, if you are doing one single thing everywhere, people feel like they're part of a much larger movement. So but the ingredients are very, it is very flexible. There's legumes, there's vegetables, there's grains, and then there is the base for it, which is tomato, onions, and lemon, and ginger. So you grind them all up, and that becomes the base for it. And then herbs and greens that you add later, salt and spices. And so spices are also optional. You can add spices. Depending on where you are, you may add different spices, right? Whichever country you're in. And I always add a pinch of this asafoetida, because that keeps the gas out of the beans. So it's a little trick that I've learned over the years.
And only now you tell us.
Yeah, go to an Indian store and look for asafoetida. And you need a little bit. You just have to sprinkle a little bit. And
it's a powder?
Yeah, it's a powder.
What is
it's
it?
It's actually a rock. I think it's a mineral rock that they crush it and make it into a powder, and then you put that in.
A little bit of pepper and turmeric and everything, just to maximize the antioxidant and
right, yeah,
and check off your Gregor's Daily Dozen.
Right, yeah. So you could probably do that too. Check off the daily dozen with this. So basically, that's all it is. It's puree the onion, tomato, and ginger into a paste, and then boil the water. Add the vegetables, turmeric, lemon juice, everything in there, and then simmer until the vegetables are cooked, and then add the cooked beans, because you don't want to cook the herbs and greens too much. And whatever grains also, we can also pre-cook the grains and add them too, depending on what kind of grains they are. But pasta, I just simmer for 7 minutes. It's fine. And then I'm recommending we add one vitamin B12 tablet. Grind it up and add it at the end after you cool the stew and mix it. So this way, people get everything they need.
Wouldn't it make sense to dissolve it in water first, and then it would?
Yeah, you could do that too. This is what Tushar asked us to do. Tushar was saying just grind it up and powder it and add it, sprinkle it. And he said 20 micrograms of vitamin B12 is adequate per serving. So which means if you're making something for 400 people, you need 8,000 micrograms, so 8 tablets. Right? So because they are getting it on a daily basis, so they don't need much more than that. So that's it, and the app itself now is just identifying all the Unity stew stations that are within 30 kilometers of the user. So that's built into the app. So it looks at your location and shows you all the dots where, and then you can click on one and you can say, I want to order from there. And you just go there with your vessel and they'll put it in. So I would say those who have ordered, the stew should be kept aside, and then the rest would be grab and go type of thing. So you can also have people who haven't ordered come and pick up some stew. So the school has agreed to have a station like this, and some restaurants like Cutting Board may have a station like this. So I think we're going to try this out in Tempe first with this arrangement and see. And then these are all the additional features that we accumulated over the last 8-9 weeks of talking about this. We need to have bulk gifting options. We need to find ways to aggregate our groups. All these feedback features. So all these features have to be added. We don't have that yet in the app. Okay. That's what I had. And I put the link on the chat box.
I have a question, though, real quick.
Yes,
because you were not on the solar radiation management portion. Do you think that you're wanting to get involved in that at all? Or are you just going to let that go on with Jamin? Because I'm kind of wondering why. I know that you have a million things going on. I understand that. But Jamin's point today is pretty much every time we're meeting is this is very important and it's really being ignored completely. I mean, right. Obviously, but it's scary because we just had a tsunami warning in Alaska because of this melting ice. But people don't connect that. Obviously, they don't even connect eating animals with dead baby pigs when they're biting into dead baby pigs' body parts. A bunch of baby pigs mixed up together. Yeah, nasty. So what do you think? What's your take on that? Because I'm kind of wondering if I should stay in SRM conversations or should I move on to a different topic?
Oh, no, I think SRM is going to become, it is already a necessity pretty much, because we are doing a documentary called United in Heart that Arvind and Nandini have been working on. So that's going to be released by the end of August. And that will talk about the ice carbon bomb and what we are doing, the feedback loop that we have triggered in the Arctic and why we need to take urgent action. So urgent action meaning start planting trees now, and start reflecting sunlight back. So everything, all options are on the table.
Well, what
Because-
is your take on the mirrors? Because I suggested we put the mirrors on the towers. Somebody suggested the ocean was the mirrors. Somebody suggested that we're the mirrors, mirroring. And I'm like, dude, we got to figure this out. But put the mirrors on satellites. Talk about get solar companies to put. I mean, even could we put mirrors on people's roofs? I don't know if it interferes in flight. That's what I was thinking. But nobody's flying right now. But
You
the
had me at
towers-
We Are the Mirrors.
Yeah.
Silver jumpsuits. Are we doing this? Foil jumpsuits and foil hats?
But I mean, seriously, like, what's the deal? I want to know what Dr. Rao's take on this is.
And what are the next steps? Is this something that we need to make into put into the Chrysalis incubator, where we're we have to figure out what the steps are and then take them and knock down the obstacles, obviously, legal, whatever kind of attention that needs to be gathered from countries, because countries have to be on board with this, because they otherwise would have rules against doing anything. There's a list of top thinkers in solar radiation management and other geoengineering, a list that I found, and I was going to invite them all to the Vegan Reflections study group on Basecamp. That's kind of just been a thing on my to-do list, but that group hasn't really got started yet.
Better to invite them to a specific meeting on SRM here, or on.
That would probably be a good first step, yeah. Because obviously within Vegan World 2026, most of them aren't going to be vegan, so they're going to be wondering why they're being invited to that.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have an opportunity to explain how it fits in.
Yeah.
But where do we collect the data? Where do we set up the to-do list? Have you got a to-do list? Like, have you given thought to what are the steps to addressing it in the United States, addressing it with the United Nations, addressing it with major... You got a checklist?
Are you asking
Sorry,
me?
Jim, and you put up your hand. I thought you meant you had a, like,
Well,
you got a checklist?
I'm deferring to Silas by default. I'm just signaling that I have an answer.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, thank you. So great question, Ray. And here's a week ago today, I talked about the law of the singularity, that there's a singular move that awaits us to take that will spell success. And in this case, we, and with a nod to Arvin of Portland, Arvin said, whatever we do, it's got to be exponential, right? And let's call it the Arvin exponential principle. So per that, the singular move that we're seeking is the one that will go exponential. And I believe that singular move is getting at least one industrial kitchen in Tempe lined up, get the food lined up. When all that's lined up, we schedule a press conference and we start inviting, who's from long lists of who's, right? I don't care which actor, actress it is. I don't care which politicians, invite them all. If they can't come in person, they'll come on Zoom. And we do the press conference, we feed everyone there, and then we roll out the trucks. The food is made, and we roll out and we deliver with music and a party, and we blast into the mind that way. I know I can read your mind, Ray. You're thinking, well, what does this have to do with SRM, right? I asked about SRM, not about food. My point is, it's one movement, one earth, one mission, one community, and it starts with that press conference. With that, we get the world's attention. Once we have the world's attention, and Silish is seen as, you know, a secret love child between Mahatma Gandhi and Albert Einstein, and everyone's just putting a microphone in his face, right? At that point, Silish says, you know, hello world. You know, and this thing is just going like dominoes everywhere. And every mayor of every city is calling Silish and saying, come here, give a speech, get it kicked off here, just like you did it in Tempe, right? And Silish is on Zoom conference after Zoom conference, smashing vegan champagne bottle after vegan champagne bottle, christening city after city, right? Virtually, right? We're just going to have truckloads of champagne bottles going to Silish's house, I guess. But anyway, at that point, Silish has the world's attention. He's suddenly seen as, you know, the anti-Trump. You know, Trump's telling you to chug-a-lug Clorox bleach. Silish is bringing you food. You know, who are you going to vote for? Who are you going to listen to? So at that point, Silish delivers, you know, the I Have a Dream speech of the century, if not the millennium, which is, you know, enough is enough. We've been living in very barbaric and very stupid ways. We've been, you know, committing a mass holocaust of animals every single day, you know, that makes World War II look like, you know, child's play, frankly, in terms of numbers. We are, you know, overheating the planet at a ferocious pace. We're letting our children starve. We're doing this. We're doing that. You know, it'll be a well prepared speech, right? Probably delivered, maybe not delivered at the press conference yet, because this is us. I hate, pardon the non-vegan analogy. Oh shoot, Sarah's going to jump all over me, but I can't think of it. We're going to give them line, right? We're going to give the vegan robotic fish some line before we reel in, right? I want that hook to sink in real deep, right? I want the vegan robotic fish to go chomp, 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 and really get it down there, and then we give it a good yank. So at first, it's just all about food and food and food, and oh yeah, it's plant-based, and that's because of this and that, nutrition and spoilage and all that. You know, let them really swallow that line. And then it may be a week or two later that you deliver the I Have a Dream speech, Silish. Probably in Washington, D.C. Why not? And I have a dream of a world that works. I have a dream of a world in which we don't have mass extinction. I have a dream of a world in which everyone eats and has shelter and clothing and access to education and access to internet and resources and the conversation and access. Well, what conversation? Well, the one that we have, you know, 24/7. That's the one that's propelling this around the world. And at this point, the media is now grappling with the end of hunger on the one hand, the conversation on the other hand, you know, this guy Silish on the other hand, you know, plant-based on the other hand. And it's just like, it's going to come so hard, so fast. But what it's really going to do is it's going to galvanize the, you know, approximately 1% of humanity that's really ready for this conversation. People like Summer Rose, who's just been waiting for this all her life, and now it's here. People like James Desmond, who've been waiting for this all his life, and now it's here. People like Dr. Silish Rao, who's been waiting for this all his life, and now it's here. It's now here. And we happen to be, you know, in the cockpit of the rocket ship. Somebody has to be here. Somebody has to be down making sure the gantry doesn't fall on 100 people. You know, we've all got our jobs. We happen to be in the cockpit, so we need to be responsible for that and steer it very carefully. So this is what I'm proposing. This is the singular move, the singular pathway, right? Tempe, Arizona, followed by I Have a Dream 2 weeks later in Washington, D.C. or London or Mumbai or wherever, right? But we need to deliver this message to the world. And it's at that point, it's going to be all about completing the deployment as quickly as possible. And the single message to the world is join the conversation. I don't care if you're the president of a South American country or a janitor in Pittsburgh, join the conversation. Because this is how we organize, city by city, country by country, with breakout rooms and other meetings. I mean, this is going to be this whole dynamic switchboard. So the switchboard's first going to be 99% filled up by food healers. People from all across the world saying, finally, we get to end hunger in Mongolia. I'm in. You know, everyone's just zooming away and organizing themselves and downloading free PDF after free PDF and watching video after video of how we did it in Tempe, basically, right? Tempe is going to be the new Mecca. Tempe is going to be the mecca of eradicating hunger and malnutrition and plant-based cuisine all in one. Tempe is just going to go from, little old Tempe to whoa, Tempe. It's going to be it's going to be the Silicon Valley of food. Tempe, Arizona will be the Silicon Valley of food.
I see the correlation between the food and the and climate change. Getting to solar radiation management also requires the food getting the attention, and then Sailesh has a platform by which to convince people of this unpopular idea that animal agriculture is a leading cause of climate change and provides the solution. It's unpopular, but it should be, presented well. It should be the good news that we actually have control of this situation. So where the solar radiation management comes in is that if we are to continue the, green energy revolution, they have to stop ignoring the fact that there's that mask of aerosols that once were we to radically stop fossil fuels, there will be an increase in temperature unless there's some sort of an offset that we can we can guarantee that that's not just going to melt all the ice caps and release all the methane and doom us to the worst effects of climate change. So I think that's really where it fits in, is that no matter how much you think that the switching to solar power and wind power and going vegan, getting rid of our animal agriculture industry, there's still one piece that's missing. And it's that as soon as you stop all this stuff, the aerosols fall out of the sky and the real temperature hits us, because there's this mask that's protecting us right now from a lot of warming. And that disappears in the matter of days. That's an effect that's probably happening to us right now because of COVID. I'm not sure how much that's being measured, but is this all making sense? Is this fitting into the scheme of the chronology of how things are going to happen, starting with food, ending with the solutions, implementing the broader solutions other than feeding people?
It makes perfect sense there, and as an example, you can also point out that China was the first country to reduce their industry at the breakout of the COVID, and now 6 months on, they're suffering major climate disaster, between threatening dam and threatening to flood, and that's possibly 51 million people in danger. They're after having 7 more earthquakes this week, landslides. They've just been devastated. Then in the north of the country, they've been wiped out by a drought. It's now in Saudi Arabia. I was just looking on the news yesterday in Saudi Arabia, they're being flooded out of it after having snowstorms there only recently as well. And the Siberian the Siberian forests, which should be under permafrost and everything else. Siberia suffered one of the most extreme heat waves that in history, and people are on the beaches while the forests in Siberia are on fire. So if that's not telling people something's radically wrong, I don't know. That's a perfect example of, they just point them in those directions, because most people are unaware of it. It's not on the mainstream news. So, this just has to be pointed out to people, and not just pointed out, but shown to them, because you need to see the hard facts to actually wake up and act on it. Thanks.
So far we have been operating under the assumption that all problems will be solved if we just grow the economy enough. So that's been the only lever that we have been using to try and solve all our problems. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. We keep focusing on goal number 8, grow the economy. And so now we are saying, actually, there is another lever, which is much easier for us to meet, zero hunger. That's another lever. And if you just do that, then suddenly all the others become easier to achieve. So it's a different system altogether. Okay? Because COVID-19 and the planet is telling us you cannot grow the economy anymore. You're done. Okay? So why are we still butting our heads against that? So
Well,
it's
everybody
silly.
following the mainstream media is the only message they're getting is grow the economy. There's a couple voices that are saying grow back better, but I don't think they're really that clear on that. On that, we need to have different expectations of what our leaders deliver us. And right now, we just hire our leaders to grow the economy, and we see nothing wrong with it. It's just so plain vanilla that it's you say anything else, they don't disagree with you. They just completely flat out don't understand what you're saying. It's an alien language.
Go ahead, Jamin. Or-
I think James is.
We're not hearing you.
I speak Gaelic. What he's trying to say is that he totally agrees with Jamin. And wait a second. Yep. Jamin, just keep listening to Jamin. And Jamin, would you please restate it in a simpler term? Yeah. Okay. Happy to do all that. No problem. Thank you, James. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Jamin for president.
Oh, he said that too. That's right. That's right. All right, James, brother.
Oh, sorry. I was saying,
James, I hate to break it to you, but it's like it was like super slurred,
sorry, Jim.
super slow.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that.
It's always hard to tell what to do because sometimes it'll kick back in and then they'll just talk really fast and it's all been recorded. But we didn't get any of that, James.
Sorry about
Maybe-
that. I got disconnected somehow. Are you all right? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you now. We can hear you now. Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Yeah, yeah, James, we got serious audio problems.
Disconnected or somehow. No, I was just saying that it was only announced there yesterday that World Health Organization to COVID. Okay, man. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. You mentioned World Health Organization, but anyway, we'll just wait till internet gets a little better there, and just chime in, maybe in a few minutes or something, James. Summer Rose, yes, go for it.
Just wanted to bring up a wonderful, fun point that apparently there's a new tick on the block that if you get bitten by this tick, eating meat, you become allergic to eating meat. So it's like the earth herself is has her own defense mechanism that she's just saying, I had enough of you people, just freaking get it together already. So I'm glad that we're on the right page here.
Her soldiers are so small. Some of them are microscopic.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone really wants to be an eco-terrorist, go freaking mass produce that tick and send it out to the rest of the planet.
Called the Lone Star tick, isn't it? Weirdly named after Texas. So the Texas and can't eat meat tick.
Well, oh, go ahead, BJ. Go ahead.
Hi, I know somebody who was bitten by it, and it's true. He can't even have a non-meat burger on a burger grill. Yeah, he has to be very careful. So it's true. It's happening.
Really, that contagious? Like just traces.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, I have a prediction to make, which is that as we get, the first prediction is that this Food Healers K-Mama app, it's going to go like V for Vendetta dominoes. It's just going to go, the dominoes are just going to fall really fast, okay? Secondly, once we see that we can have food on tap, the The next challenge will be housing on tap,
Thank you.
right? The next challenge, healthcare on tap. When I say next, they're really all in parallel. There's, you know, we can't prioritize. Well, we can prioritize food first, definitely. Everything else on tap: healthcare, housing, right? Internet, you know, education, access to wildlife, you know, parks and recreation, you know, et cetera, you know, access to quiet meditative spaces, access to XYZ, you name it. Okay. All that's going to go on tap. Suddenly we're all going to be walking around in some, you know, Logan's Run sci-fi futuristic existence in white robes, and the robots are doing the dirty work, and we're all eating plant-based. And instead of giant paintings of Chairman Mao, it's giant paintings of Silas, you know, on the sides of buildings and stuff. And it's like Chairman Silas.
You said Logan's Run. That means everybody over 50 gets killed.
Well, anyway, look, maybe it's Logan's
The
Run
outfits, just the wardrobe. I got you.
It'll be a vegan Logan's Run, because they don't
like
dispose
the
of the humans. Hey, Michael, yeah, go ahead.
I like the outfits in that movie.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I like the lifestyle. But anyway, we'll
if all bands were ABBA.
yeah. But anyway, the bottom line is it's going to be everything on tap, including SRM. And we're simply going to get into this mass production, mass efficiency, but for mass benevolence, not for mass hoarding, right? And I think that when we do the press conference in Tempe, Arizona, we should create our own protest group to protest it outside. And it'll be folks dressed in tuxedos with fine black top hats, and they'll have signs, and the signs will say "Hoarders Without Borders." And the hoarders will be protesting this communist effort. They're going to say, "Communist, you know, give me an F, you know, D-A-N. What does it spell? Communism. What does it spell? Communism. What does it spell? Communism." Right? You know, and we're going to say the silent majority wants the capitalist system to keep on going. This is a communist, probably Cuban-backed, you know, effort. Dr. Silas Rao is a communist, and you know, we're just going to go off. Hoarders without borders, and then it becomes food healers versus hoarders. You know, those who want to hoard the resources and keep people starving, and those who want to share. Which side are you on? Anyway, go for it.
I think I can get some moms with leaf blowers to show up at that protest if you want somebody, if you need somebody to get your back.
That's weirdly specific. You know, like a gang of moms with leaf blowers?
Yeah, they're in Portland right now.
Oh yeah, 5,000 of them.
I'd like to say that we will be met with no resistance. I could see the food thing getting a lot of traction. The vegan, the Whole Foods angle of it will not go unnoticed by industry. They will have agent provocateurs trying to disrupt the system or badmouth the system, and that will just be a sign that we're doing well. You know, as soon as we start getting real pushback, that means that it's really successful in causing a threat to the system, to the status quo. We have two hard sells here, and one of them is veganism, which people recognize as giving up something rather than getting something. We have to make that clear to them. And solar radiation management, they don't really understand at all. And as soon as they connect it with geoengineering, there's some hand-holding and explanation that's going to be required. And it really needs the support of the environmental community, the existent mainstream environmental community who has rejected veganism as a solution. And I don't know where they stand on solar radiation management. It may be a per individual kind of thing, but we really need that some kind of support from those people, because I've seen it again and again. I say veganism is a solution. They look to James Hansen. They look to Michael Mann. They look to Bill McKibben. And they have said so little about it that they go, well, it doesn't seem to be a solution because they don't say anything. So how do they, where do they stand on solar radiation management? As I mean, it's usually going to be a distraction from their thing, right? They want the green energy grid, and there's everything else is all a distraction. Yeah, and this is directly a question to Jamin. So
Yeah. So, first of all, we just need to recognize that all of humanity is individually and collectively brain damaged and heart diseased by the current oppressive system. All of us across the board. And just like Gandhi began to bring order to a very broken system, Salish is beginning to bring order, but this is going to go so crazy fast, so crazy popular. It's going to be Salish for not just for president, but for, emperor of, this. Anyway,
Planetary ambassador.
The thing is, I'm joking and I'm not, because, the reality is that people don't follow movements, they follow leaders. And Salish is a leader you can follow. I follow Salish. So that's just Salish is our racehorse. Sorry, I sorry for the non-vegan whatever. Salish is our mechanical vegan racehorse, right? He's okay. Salish is our Tesla. There you go. All right. Yeah. Complain about that one. Salish is our souped up Tesla. He's our one in the race that everyone can follow. Our job is to support Salish, and with everything he needs, including opportunities to rest. Salish, you need to rest. You got sick, and that's not cool. So you need to rest a lot more, and have faith in the network, the power of the network, which we're building right here, and let us all co-organize all the topics we need. Now that this thing is about to take off 24/7, it's gonna that increases the clock speed just unimaginably, because basically the food healers conversation will never sleep. There will be a moment when that conversation will simply never sleep. Breakout room number 1 is food healers. Number 2 is SRM, in that order. The food healers thing is going to take off. It's probably going to take off in a matter of a couple weeks or so. I can't imagine us dilly-dallying this any longer. We finally got the formula. For many weeks there, we were still kind of messing around with restaurants and packaging and pickups and deliveries, and because we were still, it's not to criticize, it was an evolution, right? And then one day it hit us, food on tap. Okay. And now that we've got that imperative and we see that this is it, this is the singular solution that Mother Earth has been waiting for to get us out of the current death spiral. This is it. Because zoom, we're going to just take off. This is going to spread to the far reaches of the world. And if there is some, dictator preventing us from going to his people, there's going to be so much political pressure. Every world leader is going to be calling that dictator and threatening that dictator and pleading with that dictator. And it's just not going to last. All right. And with everyone fed, and then we start getting everything else on tap, including SRM. Right? So what we're going to see is a complete reorientation of the global economy around a mission that finally makes sense. Feed everyone, give everyone housing, clean clothing, access to this, that, the other, washing machines, showers, you know the list. It's the stuff that we enjoy every day and we take for granted. So fill the list, get it done. And the thing is, the ones who are going to be doing the figuring out won't be Salish staying up till 3 a.m. every night figuring every last detail out. He'll just be making just these beautiful flowing speeches, right? And meanwhile, millions of awesome people will just be toiling away in breakout rooms across the Zoomosphere, right? Across the network, figuring out each and every last detail. And Salish, your main job is to get great rest, great food, great time with Kamaya, and so that when we have our, you know, our biweekly meetings, our every 2 or 3 day meetings working on the next speech, we really focus on that. So you wake up, and you're like, oh, all right, let's work on the speech, right? And then afterwards, you can go play, for crying out loud, right? We need you alive and well, not getting sick and getting overworked. So let's make this happen. Everyone, keep inviting everyone to the conversation. Let's grow this network organically. We're almost at 24/7. And look at us, we're just bursting with amazing people. We had 3 thriving breakout rooms going in parallel. How did it go? Michael Gaio and Company, New Story for Humanity. How did it go? Vegans of Color. Tell us at the appropriate moment. But I mean, see, this is the network coming alive right now. It's coming alive.
I agree that you're talking about how people need a leader to lead them. And that while that is true, I think there's a new narrative coming forth, starting with the Occupy movement, where having leaders is a system that the status quo knows how to deal with. Decentralization of the movement. What Sailesh needs to do is make his speech really contagious, so people are saying it to other people, and other people are saying it with equal amounts of enthusiasm. Because
here's the thing, it's just a reality. People don't follow movements, they follow leaders. And Sailesh is awesome because he ain't white. Right? And white men are the boogeymen these days, right? Marco, I can't even say it. Yes, Melvin, go for it.
I think you're absolutely right that in that old narrative, people follow leaders. But I think Ray is right on mark. And this time, there are people doing the work that's in the streets. I mean, a lot of people, I've been doing a lot of, you know, through Facebook and other things and other social media. There's people doing work in the street. They're really, 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 really doing the work. And they're not looking for a leader. And they don't want nobody to come trying to impose a leader. I think you're absolutely right. No, Jamie. I think you know, what Ray was hit the mark right on the head. Is that we can't have, if we want to go forward, we cannot have a model of centralize anything, because the system really know how to do that with that. Now, you're absolutely right about Sailesh being a man of color. It really, that's one thing I wanted to address Sailesh with, because he don't try to use that in any way, and it is an asset that he have in this here. What we want to do is as a man of color in speaking. And I have the utmost of respect for you and for Sailesh and what you're saying. And I have the utmost respect for Sailesh also, but he's just a man. And that's all he is a man who's presenting something. And for me, he has put him. And also you're with SRM. That's awesome the story that you're telling about SRM. And Sailesh has the greatest story that in human history, this greatest transformation in human history that he's telling. That is a story that we all can be behind and telling. Those 7 principles, the greatest transformation in human history, and those principles. I think, like Sailesh said, like Ray said, if he can tell that story in such a way that everybody just want to tell that story, that is so infectious that everybody want to tell that story. And veganism is really the linchpin. It is the key. It is the one principal thing that can help us move forward, veganism, because everything else is when you look at societies, in any society you have, I don't care if it's back in Egypt time or contemporary time in Russia, it's the food. It's the food. And the food is the underpinning of this whole culture, of this society. And what drives that there is this industrialization of animals, of killing animals. And if enough of us go vegan, that is enough momentum to bring about this shift that we want to have. It's just bringing about the shift. And then if we could tell this story that Sailesh been telling about the greatest transformation in human history and those 7 core principles and what you're saying, I think we really got something going there rather than having a centralized leader, because they know how to deal with a centralized leader. That's really easy. You've seen what happened to Martin and everybody, and Gandhi. He's a centralized leader, and they really know how, they like that centralized leader stuff. The system, that you know how to deal with it.
Summer, you had your hand raised.
Summer Rose, yeah. And you're on mute, Summer Rose. And by the way, she goes by Summer Rose, both words, Summer Rose. Go for it, Summer Rose.
Yeah, so I'm sure not everyone's familiar with this image, but this is the image of landmass that is, for the blue is cows, the red is humans, and the green is the wildlife. Now this is the land. So obviously the blue is owned by people. It's not owned by the cows. So what we're up against is also property. It's not just the cows, which is why there's such a pushback on veganism. And if you've seen the movie Cowspiracy, every organization, whether it's the heart disease or diabetes, and then we can go into the environmental organization, whether it's Greenpeace, the Sierra Club, or all of them are terrified of going onto the plant-based, podium with their organizations, because over 1,200 apparently animal rights activists have been killed. So what we would need to do, I think, is get an agreement, and also it's going to affect their bottom line. If you're a nonprofit and you get money by donations, and then you tell all your members, hey, you got to stop eating meat, they might stop donating to you. So we're going to be affecting their bottom lines in that way. So if there's some way that we can either, come to some way where we can fund these organizations, let them know, hey, for however many donations or kickbacks you get for promoting the vegan, we'll help you out. I mean, I don't know, but I think, or we can get them all to agree, hey, if all of us open up together, then everybody says it together and everybody gets the download together, then maybe every one of the members would be like, okay, we get it. It's coming from everywhere now. Fine, we'll eat less meat at least. So these are some of the things I've been thinking about lately. And wonder what you guys think about that.
I've got gobs of thoughts, but Ray's first. Go for it, Ray.
If you're responding directly to her, go ahead.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thanks, Ray. So the I've said this. I've said it before many times, many ways. There's an answer, and it's simple. And here's what it is. It's going to be like the guy who accidentally eats an Impossible Whopper rather than a dead animal Whopper. Okay. He puts ketchup and whatever, mustard, drinking his high fructose Coke. It's like, that was delicious. Let me get another. And then it's like, whoa, what? What did I just eat? Well, hell, give me another, right? That's the way to get someone to go vegan. And because here's what's going to happen. And I've said this before, it's kind of unpopular in this group. So I just want to acknowledge that. And I'm going to say it anyway. Here it is. For starters, downplay the dang vegan thing. Don't even say vegan, right? If they say what's in it, just go through the ingredient list. And if they point out, what, there's no meat in there, yeah, there's no. Oh, it would spoil the whole thing. It would just spoil it all, right? Have a quick one-liner. Oh, it would spoil the whole thing. It would spoil the whole thing. Something that has a saying that has legs, right? It would spoil. Oh, it would spoil the whole thing. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, for starters, it would literally spoil, right? We simply can't mess. Look, don't ask. First of all, here's the whole medical team, and then you got a baker's dozen of freaking doctors in white robes led by Dr. Priya Naik, and they just say, no, it would spoil, it'd be terrible, it's bad for you, Here's all the data, and that's the end. And that's if they ask. If they don't ask, Melvin said it perfectly. It's all about the food. And here we're feeding everyone. For the first time in the human experience, everyone gets to eat. That's the headline. Forget about this vegan stuff for now, right? You know, I feel like I'm talking to the 4-year-old who can't wait to tell his 13-year-old sister that we're about to have a surprise party for her. Just hold on to it, kiddo. Hold on. Just 1 more hour. Just shut up. I don't know. Go play a video game or eat some candy or something, right? Because here's why. The world's going to fall in love, and you're not going to have any opposition if you focus on the food. We're feeding everyone. Everyone's hungry. We got to feed them. That's it. And
I don't
hold
think it
your
originates with us, though. Like we said, we're going to present plant-based food, and other people are going to go, "Oh, vegan food, huh? Vegan food? You're going to give us vegan food? This is a vegan thing?
No.
This is part of the vegan agenda, right?
But
It's not going to come from us. It's going to come from somebody else.
Let it come from somebody else, and let them say whatever they want. The cameras are going to be trained.
It'll
on
not make it
Silas
through
and
the
what Silas
first day without somebody exposing it as a vegan agenda.
Let them. Look, we're not hiding
Right.
Silas's checkered vegan past, right? We're not hiding that.
Besides,
Right?
I absolutely agree that it's not a vegan project.
Listen,
Because vegan is not a kind of food. This isn't you could have a truck that has no animal products in it. It's not a vegan truck because a vegan isn't food. A vegan is a person.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm in total agreement with you. What I'm saying is, let's strike the word vegan from our vocabulary. Let them peg us as vegan if they want to, and then everyone will start asking, "What's a vegan? And what's wrong with vegans?" Right? And then get it on, and that's when the fun starts. But from Silas's lips, it's all about, listen, there are kids starving. We're not going to take it anymore. We got a solution. We're rolling it out. End of story. Beginning of story. Here goes. Everyone get on board. And I mean you, reporters, spread the word. We need you to volunteer. You. Go. And it just becomes chop, chop, chop with urgency. And that's the kind of leadership. Melvin, I totally agree with you. Silas is going to be the last person on earth to say, hey, I'm a leader. Come follow me. But what's going to come out of his mouth is going to be so beautiful that people are simply going to follow him. Every party we ever throw for Silas is going to be a surprise party. You know why? He simply won't agree to come to some big party with 5,000 people coming. Every party for Silas from here on out is going to be a surprise party, right? He doesn't call himself a leader. He just says brilliant shit, right? And he's a freaking dank-ass dude. It's as simple as that. People love him because they love him, right? They'll follow him because they choose to follow him, not because he says, hey, follow me, I'm great, give me money.
I think that people embrace Silas because he's genuine. And he asks nothing of you. He asks nothing of you. I think that's the thing, that he's so genuine. And he just wants the best for us all. And he asked nothing. He never did ask me to be a vegan or anybody. He just put it out there, and he's so genuine. And I think that's the beauty of Silas. He's not in here for self-aggrandizement, and that's his authenticity. And you look at any, I think I heard you say this here. Somebody say that I'm brilliant. I'm brilliant. So when you get to this, somebody else can say you're brilliant, but when you start saying you're brilliant, that's the issue. And people choose their leaders. People choose who they want to be at the forefront. Like I was saying earlier, there are people who are really in the trenches, been doing this work for 20 years, 30 years, and now we having this pandemic. Now we facing the global warming. We talking about another 10 years. We talking a catastrophic change. And these people have been doing this here work for years in the trenches. And the story that Silas is telling, I think, is a story that can really unify us all on the greatest transformation in human history. And those 7 core things, I think, because it touches everything that need to be done when you look at, those 7 principles, the speciesism, colonialism, ableism, and racism, and patriarchy, and veganism, and radical equality. So we have to have a story that touches on everybody. When you talk about moving from a culture of consumerism to a culture of consumption to a culture of compassion, from destruction and from destruction of the environment to regeneration of the environment. You know, those 7 core principles, I think that's the story in what you're doing right now with K Mama and everything. This is all just part of this whole story of the greatest transformation in human history that we have to do in providing food for, you know, this what you guys are doing, providing food. That's a foundational thing. And like you were saying, you know, food, you know, as you said, food is the foundation of all civilizations, is the food. So what we're talking about being a veganism, this is why it's so important that we tell this story and we say it loud and very strong, that we want a plant-based, we embrace veganism. Like Ray said, veganism is not just a person, but it's a philosophy, it's a lifestyle. It's how you want to organize society, how you want to organize life. You know, we can bring food to people, but we want to create structures, systems to where you don't have to bring food to people. And the only way you can do that is going to a plant-based lifestyle, going to veganism, to where like Summer Rose, that was a very nice graphic that you showed. That was very powerful. And we know why that little sliver over there is just for the wildlife, and why all that big old piece is over there is for humans. It's just because of this here thing of this here notion of separation and domination of that big old part over there is to keep on this culture of animal agriculture, this culture of normalized violence. That's what that big part is over there for. And the only way we can get rid of that is truly going vegan. That's the only way. We can't get rid of it any other way. And I think we should be upfront and strong about our intentions, be very transparent that we want a vegan world. We want children to be vegans, you know, and I think that's our strength. That's really our strength, in being very transparent about that, a plant-based lifestyle, a whole food, eating whole food rather than, you know, saying, okay, like you suggested. I think that, I don't think that's genuine. And I think anybody could, I mean, you can't tell, one thing I know about people on the street, you can't bullshit them. You cannot bullshit them, you know. So we just got to say, bro, you know, we talking about veganism, and tell them why, and then let them choose. Put it out there. We talking about people going, and tell them why, you know, why we want veganism. When you look at racism, we cannot eliminate racism, all the other social injustice, the income inequality, educational disparities, the criminal justice system's injustice, and that, unless we address the food issue. It's all right there in the food. And that's why I think it's so important for us to tell the politicians, the preachers, everyone who's in part of this patriarchal system of leadership up there, that you should be telling everybody to go vegans, just like this thing with this COVID. They won't mention veganism. They won't mention boosting your immune system to fight this disease. It's all still within the same narrative as pharmaceutical stuff. Because, like I think Ray said, or Summer, if they tell their people to go vegan, they know what's going to happen. It's going to be a big change, and those organizations are going to lose their funding. So, you know, Summer Rose was saying, how can we, you know, supplement their funding somehow? You know, because that is the way. If people go vegan, this system is the precondition of it. The economic structure of this system will collapse, and that will open up the thing that we need to do. That will create the precondition for K Mama and everything else that we want to do. It has to. The system has to decline on its own, implode from inside, and veganism is the way to do it.
I'd say, you know, I have a woman here who's a preacher, and she's been a vegan minister for like 30 years. And she's actually shifted how she presents it. She doesn't say plant-based or vegan. She says a plant-centered diet. because even if we did cut down our meat drastically, it would make a big difference. And just getting them in the door is more important than them embracing it 100%. Because once, you know, and then I also like to tell people, hey, just try this out as an experiment. See how you feel. This isn't forever. You can go back to your bacon, maybe just give it a year. And then I also like to tell people about the idea that supposedly, you know, Chinese are investing millions of dollars in just being able to take like a cell from a cow, stick it in a petri dish, and it grows into a steak. So if that's, you know, the way that we can have our bacon again someday, you know, so just like, don't just straight up, you got to go vegan to save the planet. And if you don't do this, you suck, you're da-da-da. No demonizing at all, or they're just going to run away. So that's, you know, be soft, be gentle, be inviting, ask them questions. Do you want the world to be fed? Do you know that as it currently stands, how we're sharing things, we can't feed the world? So let's just cut back a little bit. And then as they come to hang out with us, they're like, oh my God, these people are so cool. I want to be 100% vegan. So that's, you know, part of the process I would think is the way to really get this done.
There's a lot of pathways to get there. There's no one. It's a lot, and we should embrace them all the pathways.
What you're talking about there, Summer Rose, is that that's vegan outreach. That's outreach person to person when you have a conversation with people. And I've been involved in that kind of activism for a long time. But since being involved with climate healers, it's taking a different approach that takes a lot of that pressure off. When you talk about veganism as a movement, and you talk about the global crises that we face, you extrapolate from the future, that one path of the future in which we survive. We managed to solve all of these problems. And you work your way back and you say, which systems failed us? Which ones were replaced? And how did we manage to get from here to there? So you're walking it back, talking about veganism in a systemic kind of way. You say that this is where we end up. This is where the animal agriculture industry fails to be an obstacle in our ability to survive. Does it mean that everybody's vegan? Probably not. There's people that are going to be fishing like independent actions that you can't really control. There's going to be a black market that grows out of anything that is counterculture. But in general, we're aiming at Vegan World 2026, meaning that half of people who have the power of choice living in developed nations will make that choice for themselves. If you don't want to be part of that in 2020, that's up to you. Nobody ever makes your choices for you. Everybody always decides whether they want to be vegan or not. We're kind of hedging bets that everybody's going to decide. Anybody who has the power of choice to decide is going to decide by 2026. All the changes that we're going to see in the world, in the physical world, and in the economical situation that we have right now, the economic situation is obviously revealing itself as being very manufactured and not really serving the human race. It's serving, the curtain's been pulled back and we realize this economy isn't built for us. This is a leftover of the industrial age, and the industrialists are the only ones that are profiting from it. So when are we going to get mad enough to change it? Pretty soon, within the next 6 years, pretty much guaranteed. So walking back from there to here, that's how I do my outreach now. I'm not going to take your meat away from you, but I have a feeling your meat is going to become very expensive very quickly. And I'm not really happy about subsidizing food that I know is damaging the planet. So what are we going to do about those subsidies? And that's a conversation that anybody can have. There's no level of society that shouldn't be engaged. Anybody that pays taxes should be talking about subsidies and whether we should be paying for things that are ruining the planet. Once the subsidies go, there's a website called Meatonomics.com. Once you take away the subsidies, those industries are gone. They seem like they're going to be there forever. They seem so beloved by absolutely everybody that they'll be there forever. but they're going the way of the rotary phone. There's no future for industrial agriculture. And once you trace back from that future where you have that hot stock tip, why wouldn't you want to get into veganism early? You get to say, I told you so, right? And if I'm wrong, then we're probably headed over the cliff anyway. So, but what a magnificent tool that we have in animal agriculture. You get rid of, you try to decide what can you do to make any industry better. That's when you just drop. You don't try to figure out how to tweak it, you just drop it.
And I suppose if we, like, their bottom line, if we can get them to save some money too, by going, organizations who are spending a ton of money on buying their meat lunches for their business meetings or whatever, or their parties. Hey, guess what? You can save some money. You'll save $10,000 over 5 years or whatever it might be, or $10 million, who knows? But yeah.
Or we send the truck over and they all fill up with stew. They don't get a choice of what it is. You don't get any fancy lobster dinner. You get to eat what everybody else is eating.
Right.
That's
and
it.
Our Congress people to eat freaking lobsters. They're supposed to be public servants. That's my lobster. Just kidding.
All right. We got 3 people in the queue. We got Jamin, followed by, I'm going to call you Mimey until you tell me how to pronounce your name, followed by Marco. All right. So here's what I want to say. And Melvin, I want you to break out your bullshit sensor, and I want you to tell me, does this pass your bullshit sensor? Okay? You ready, Melvin? Show me a sign. All right, great. Here goes. Silas gets up there and says, here's the deal, food on tap, food for everyone, and the food is 100% plant-based. And full disclosure, I eat 100% plant-based every day of my life. I am vegan. And and I'm vegan for a whole bunch of reasons. And that's not something I'm seeking to impose upon anyone, right? I would love for everyone to make their own choices and to be fully, informed. Just full disclosure. Full disclosure. This is who I am. I'm vegan. This is what I believe in. 7 core principles, 7 core shifts. Here it is. I'm handing out everyone. Here's my webpage. I've got nothing to hide. Here's my whole life, A to Z, right? And this is what I believe in. I believe everyone should eat. I believe in a nonviolent world, and I believe in a cool world. How cool is that? Any bullshit there? Any bullshit detected, Melvin? See, it's all in how you say it. It's all in how you say it. And what I'm suggesting here is this is a living laboratory for us to refine the message, because there is a singular message that's going to knock over the dominoes faster than anything else, that's really going to make it all about food, right?
You're right. And I think Ray said other people need to be saying that. Thousands of people need to be saying that, selling just like you said it. The 7 core principles. Ray was absolutely right. Where we have to, those people who have been there in the trenches doing the work, they could tell the story. If we can have the pastors of churches telling that story, we can have politicians, we can have people telling a story about the 7 core. Not so much Silas have already put out there. But we have to take on that story. We have to take ownership of that story and tell it, that story. And I think when you have the masses, when you have the people in the trenches who've been have been having the food pantries for a long time, and they've been doing the fighting this their struggle, and they can start telling that story to the people, it has a lot of credibility, I'm in touch with a man right now. And Silas, I hope he come, you get to meet him. I hinted to him about taking his whole church vegan. He's interested in it. We're going to tell him this story. If he do it, the church is going. People like him have to tell their story. That's what we're going to get people like him to tell their story about these 7 core principles. And then I think that it would be more dynamic, and it's not a central leadership, and it has a life on its own. and you can't kill it. Like they say, you could kill a revolution. You can kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution. You know, you might be able to kill a vegan, but you can't kill veganism. You know, so we have to do it like that because we have to infect people with it on from the bottom up, and we got to get people who's there at the bottom, been doing this fight, in the struggle, doing the work, telling us the story about the greatest transformation in human history, and this 7 core principles, because it is the greatest transformation. If we don't make this transformation in the next 10 years, and it's going to be another chapter. If once someone writes their story, it's going to be horrific. That's why 2026 is really real, the benchmark for us. And people are transitioning over at a phenomenal rate. And Sailesh always talk about just exponential growth. It is happening. It is happening. And I think Ray mentioned that if these here agriculture industry wasn't getting subsidies, they just couldn't have made, they just can't make it, you know. So it's a lot in our favor. It don't look like it. And I'm glad we having this conversation, hearing Ray and hear Summer Rose and everything, because it's helping me to see how we win in this thing. You know, when you look at the pandemic and you look at Wall Street getting big and you look at all the people who are unemployed, and man, it don't look like we winning. And you look at these big capos all over, but we are winning this here thing. And nature is on our side. Nature is really what's on our side that's pushing this here thing forward. And we just got to be on the right side of nature. And veganism is being on that right side. It's really been on that right side. And it's just, like I said, it's the founder, it's the beginning. We're going to grow this thing, and everything have to come out of veganism. Shelley talked about the 7 core, the code for a healthy earth. You talking about SRM. You know, all this stuff is part of it, but veganism is the foundation, is the core of it. And I'm really glad we're having this conversation, because it's helping me to feel more more vitalized. That we are winning this struggle. We are winning.
Heck yes. All righty. We got 3 patient folks in the queue. Mimey, followed by Marco, followed by BJ. And if I missed anyone, please wave frantically and we'll get you in there. Go for it, Mimey, and please tell us how to pronounce your name. Thank you.
Hello.
Hey, Mimey.
There are tons of ways to pronounce the name. It's not my real name. It's a nickname. You can say Mimey, you can say Mimey, you can say Mime, you can say Mimi, you can say, you know, there's tons of weird ways to pronounce Mime. So, let's see. So I wrote here, maybe meat, but not industrialized mass execution of animals. How does that sound? Like, for example, do you know if corals have souls?
Well, are corals plants or animals? Does anyone know?
They're animals.
Corals are animals. Okay, thank you.
I think that's right.
I believe that's correct as well.
Anyway, who the heck would want to eat coral anyway? I mean, corals have been
Coral,
attacked enough.
I did it before. Coral, if it's prepared, it has a neutral taste. It tastes like kind of like water, but it's like if you don't put anything in squid, that's how coral tastes. But it's still meat, it's still protein. It still provides protein for your body. I just coined a term called the algae knot. Technically, algae is a complete nutritional platform, and it provides all the different nutritional needs for a human body. That's not all it does. It continues to live inside your body, and somehow it's able to photosynthesize. I didn't even know you could do that, but it continues to provide oxygen inside your body. Isn't that the most wicked thing, cool thing you've ever heard? So no other plant on earth does that. That is so cool. I even had a shop. I was selling these algae products out of my shop, but due to ridiculous lack of revenues, it closed down. So but I think it's very important as a replacement for other plant materials, because it also provides protein. Can you believe that? How is it that these plants are actually teeny tiny micro machines that are actually able to move? They're motile in water, unlike other plants, like let's say the mangrove. The mangrove is totally not motile in water. And vines are motile, but they're not as motile as algae. And also corals, seaweed, and pollen. Now it's important where the pollen comes from. Pollen needs to be coming from smaller plants, not the bigger plants, because the bigger plants technically are actually more sedentary, right, than the smaller plants. So the smaller plants don't move very much, but plants like vines, they move much more. Plants like small flowers, if you actually time lapse the flowers, some flowers will actually open in accordance to how much sunlight is available in the space they're in, and they will open at certain times of day and they will close at certain other times of day. It turns out that when microbiologists actually mutated different sorts of plants to produce bioluminescence, the smaller plants were able to continuously produce more light than the bigger plants. So
Mime, can I
there
interrupt
is
you just for
also
a few seconds? Mime. So what you're saying is, it's fascinating. It's very, very interesting, but I don't see how it maps to the food healers discussion that all of us have come here to have. And so what I'd like to offer is to create a breakout room for you right now. And then anyone who wants to hear the kinds of very specific details that you're saying, which are fascinating, I'm just saying I don't see how they fit within this conversation right now. So if you're interested, just let me know. Mime, anyway, because
right, it is not only a replacement for meat, but it is also a replacement for what feeds meat.
Yeah. No, I think this belongs in a specific discussion about, just exotic variations on food. Anyway, we'll keep rolling for now. Let me know if you want a breakout room. Happy to facilitate. And looks like Summer Rose has a quick response, but we've also got Marco and BJ waiting very patiently. So I want to get to them as quick as possible. Go ahead, Summer Rose. And what did you have to say?
Actually, it wasn't a response. So if I'm in queue, I'll be happy to talk as the third speaker.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks, Mime, and go for it, Marco.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent from what we're taught, what in the general conversation here of, making people believe. I believe, so I don't need to go there. What I'd like to know is, now we've had offers of restaurants that have, kitchens that are not doing anything, volunteering, but I don't know if that fits the scale of what we're looking to do for the, what's the actual target size of our first batch? And you just, Jamin, you said several times, we need a big commercial kitchen. Are we looking at acquiring a building and retrofitting it for that purpose, or?
No. We would just find a commercial kitchen that's not functioning now, or that's functioning way below capacity, and we'd say, are you interested in being a part of this? Right? You know, you're not, it's just sitting there now. At least this way we could, you know, pay the bills, whatever, work some arrangement out that's win-win. I don't think we'll have any trouble lining that up. Go back to you, Marco.
Okay. So then what's the size of our first batch? What's our truck size? So the one, you know, that you're going to be dancing and singing on top of?
Yeah. Well, the truck size isn't such a big thing. You know, call it, I don't know, 5 tons, 10 tons, something like that, 20 tons, somewhere in that ballpark, probably around 10 tons.
We don't want you falling off of it. It's got to be big enough for you to dance on.
No,
There'll be it's relative to, you know, the kitchen size, you know, to be able to fill it, you know. What's our target? Target population be?
Yeah. So the way I look at it as follows. We'll probably have more than one truck, and you know, I think the first batch size, the first set of batches that we should be whatever we can produce with full truckloads, 40-ton truckloads of lentils, brown rice, potatoes. So, you know, take a full truckload of lentils, a full truckload of some other kinds of beans, probably 2 or 3 truckloads of rice, you know, probably 3 or 4 truckloads of potatoes, and so on. But let's say we're dealing with basically 10 truckloads of food of the 40-ton type, which will be enough for 40 truckloads of finished product of the 10-ton type, which would be distributed over the course of, I don't know, a couple of days or something like that. We do the press conference. We've got all this food. We got enough for 40 truckloads outbound, 10 tons each. I mean, that's enough to feed Tempe, you know, that's enough to feed whoever's going to want the food, whoever's going to receive it. So not everyone's going to want it. But what's the population of Tempe? Does anyone know off the top, or anyone want to look it up? But my point is this, that those, you know, 40 truckloads are going to last us, I don't know, at least enough to feed people for a week. We want to kick it off, blast it out there, and then the donations will come pouring in, and then we'll just keep replenishing, and then Tempe will just be an ongoing operation, and then we keep expanding to other cities. Go ahead, Marco. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Do we have a realistic or even a ballpark time frame for that first batch?
Yeah, as soon as we can get all the donations together and the kitchen lined up and the press conference scheduled and other important details. We need to create a whole project plan out of it.
So that leaves us still open-ended. So if depending on how COVID goes and the second wave, if there is one, you know, there may not be a lot of convincing to do. If you're hungry and we have food, you're going to want to eat it.
This is a program where the demand is there and growing by the day, by leaps and bounds. Hungry people will eat this. They will love it, and they will love us forever, and they'll want to volunteer, and they'll want to support, and they'll spread the word. Get ready for the biggest love fest on earth. And yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, go ahead, Marco.
No, I just don't, you know, I'm just not as concerned as everybody else seems to be about pushback. I don't think it's
then let's stop talking about pushback. Let's not focus on false phantoms that don't even exist. Let's focus on what we need to do. That's my suggestion.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The only other thing I can think of is long term is, you know, we need to eventually worry about how our supplies, our foods are grown. You know, modern agricultural practices are just horrible. So, but that's a I think an easily down the road thing to worry about.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because for me the priorities are very clear. Feed everyone, SRM, and then everything else. Because
okay, cool. I'm good.
Okay, cool. Awesome. BJ followed by Ray, followed by Summer Rose. Go for it, BJ. Thanks for your patience. BJ, you're on mute, sister.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I remember Salish is going to have a recipe made pretty soon. And the other thing that we had talked about at some point was having a plan so it can be duplicated so that I can then go to Austin, Texas and say, oh, okay, we can do this. And I'm not sure what kinds of things will need to be on that. The recipe, here's some key people you may want to consider contact. For me, it would even be nice to have, here's a sample letter. Okay, that sort of thing. I don't know if that packet is coming.
Yeah, that's for all of us to develop inappropriate breakout meetings. See, so as more and more people come in, suddenly you're going to have an experience of abundance of wonderful people coming in to make this happen. And just like we got into 3 different breakout rooms today, we'll get into 17 next week, and we'll pursue every last detail that you're mentioning. But since you raised a couple of points, just super quick before we go on to Ray, Summer Rose, and Linda, is that in terms of that playbook, for example, so making food industrially is something that's really well studied, right? Whether it's plant-based or non-plant-based, it's all really well studied. I mean, you can get degrees in food science and all this kind of stuff. So it's well studied, well understood. So the cooking part, piece of cake. The cleaning part, piece of cake. Where I think we really need to get a really great database, BJ, is, where do I get lentils by the truckload in North America? Where do I get lentils by the truckload in all countries of South America? Where do I get, brown rice by the truckload? So lists of suppliers who are food healers friendly. They meet our requirements in terms of, being healthy, being plant-based, being, sufficiently chemical free. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to go down that rat hole because we could talk about that for years and still never resolve it. But, basically the sociocracy, good enough, good to go, basically. Are we good to go? Then let's go. Right. So it's really not going to be that hard a thing. I think where we need to innovate the most is on the dispensing of the food from the truck to the people who come with their pot on the street. That's really the only new thing here. That's really kind of new and a little bit wild, right? Everything else is really well systematized, in pretty much any country. Anyway, back to you, BJ.
No, I just was trying to think about the size of the spigot, for the soup.
Yeah. That's a mechanical engineering problem meets food technology. It's as simple as that. We just need a breakout room for it. I mean, if there are 4 people who want to tackle it right now, I'll create the breakout room and you just go for it. Right. So, but anyway, it's not going to be that hard.
Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks.
In fact, thanks, BJ. In fact, it may well be a solved problem. I mean, the food industry is so massive. I don't think a food spigot is the first time someone's thought about a food spigot for something like stew. So I think we'll do all right there. That's my guess. All right, we've got Ray followed by Summer Rose followed by Linda. Go for it, Ray.
To return to that topic of the idea of leadership, I've been involved in the animal rights movement for 5 years now and paying close attention. I've got a lot of friends that are in both the SAVE movement and DXE, Direct Action Everywhere. And one of them is decentralized and the other one has very specific leadership. And I perceive a lot of benefits to either model, but the SAVE movement is decentralized in the sense that they come up with a concept. We're going to bear witness to animals in slaughterhouse trucks, in transport trucks that are going in through the gates of a slaughterhouse. Very simple model. The reasons for doing it aren't necessarily clear until you've done it once. So I recommend everybody find one in your neighborhood and participate. They're in every major city in North America and many around the world and in other countries. and other continents. And essentially, they just have this great idea, and they find people that say, hey, I want that in my neighborhood. And they say, well, you can do it yourself. And they give them a kit on how to set it all up. So Anita Krajnc is the figurehead of this movement, but she doesn't really have any say. She's just not running an organization, a global organization. She's just came up with this concept, and it's spreading around the world. Whereas Direct Action Everywhere has a lot of advantages of having a leadership and a director, especially one that's a very intelligent man in Wayne Sung. But the number of crises that they face on a regular basis because they've got a target to, and I really can't speak to exactly what causes all these problems. Some of it is just that we're activists. We're the messy left, where we believe that the government is corrupt, and we believe that there's all sorts of, shifty things going on. So we're very suspicious people. So they have issues where we don't know what DXE is spending their money on. So there's a transparency issue. There's issues with other groups that are trying to bridge into intersectional activism, and they feel that they're not intersectional enough. So there's criticism, and why isn't the leadership dealing with these problematic people in Los Angeles or wherever it happens to be? So the ability to create an idea and just set it free and let it be contagious is better than having this centralized system. People still need the figureheads. People know who Anita Krajnc is, but she doesn't need to be. If you remove Anita Krajnc from the picture, it doesn't upset the apple cart and derail the movement. And I think that's
but Ray,
an
I
important
don't think anyone's advocating for centralization. I haven't heard of anyone advocating for it. Right. And the way I would envision it is, in Tempe, something will get set up. Some big industrial kitchen will volunteer, or will propose to them, and they'll say yes. And some churches will get involved, and some donors will get involved. It's just going to be the community coming together, not under the umbrella of some hierarchical nonprofit. It's going to be the collective intelligence, right? And the collective intelligence is going to be just totally organic. Like if BJ just said, hey, Jamin, I want to create a breakout room to talk about pomegranates. I'd be like, okay. And then, 3 people follow, they follow, right? So it's just like, Dana likes pomegranate. She just proved my point. So, it's just going to be this organically growing thing, right? Will startups emerge to go after some opportunities to best clean equipment? I guaranteed, right? Let them. So there's going to be this whole little ecosystem of nonprofits, private companies, government entities, whatever, following the big school of fish. But the big school of fish is going to be happening right here within our network, because the conversation is where all the action is happening. The network of conversations.
How did you feel about Occupy Wall Street, where they didn't really have leadership as such, and there was the pro that they didn't know who to target if they wanted to disrupt it, but on the other hand, nobody really knew what Occupy wanted. So they kind of drew attention to a problem but didn't offer any solutions, which sometimes it's the first step. I think that falls parallel with Greta Thunberg. Is she drew attention to the problem, and people go, well, she doesn't have any solutions. She's saying that you don't have any solutions. You should get on the stick and find some solutions.
Yeah, so somebody needs to connect Greta with us, because we're all about rolling out solutions. We're not the adults that she's looking for. We're not the adults that she's pointing the finger at and saying, hey, you're not working on solutions. We're at the polar opposite end of the spectrum. We are the adults working on solutions. Right. So she just needs to connect with us so that her next press conference is not, damn you for not finding solutions, but hey, everyone join the conversation, because that's where they're cooking up solutions. Right. And what Occupy Wall Street lacked was a clear goal. We got a clear goal. Everyone eats 3 meals a day, every day, no exceptions. 100% plant-based.
Well,
followed by SRM, cooling the planet in time, followed by whatever follows next. So we have a very clear pathway to survival. Go ahead, Michael. Yeah.
You know, similar to Occupy Wall Street was Anonymous. I think Anonymous even came first. I think Anonymous might have influenced Occupy Wall Street. You know, the hacker group Anonymous, which was much easier for them to be decentralized. But they were similar. There was kind of like a nebulous group of people all around the world who I think they started with something like a clear, you know, declaration of intent. But then what does tend to happen, and I think this did happen with Anonymous, I think it did happen with Occupy Wall Street, is it kind of starts to dissipate over time. So that is I feel like I've seen a lot of projects like this, particularly in the, you know, distributed networking space, you know, in the cryptocurrency space and the distributed ledger technology space. You know, there's hundreds and thousands of projects of people building projects on distributed network technology. I mean, most people don't really know about what's happening. It's this huge stuff happening out there. But a lot of it's experimental. And I've seen many projects kind of start that way. You know, when you're having a decentralized system set like that, I think it can tend to dissipate over time unless there is also some balance of centering. I really believe this, that if we look to biology and biomimicry and the way that the cosmology works, it's often a balancing of both distributed centers and centers, and this really dynamic thing. So just to keep that in mind, that yes, decentralization is the trend forward, and we want to keep that highly in mind for any kind of design architecture. But also, you want to, like what you're saying, Jimmy, you want to kind of like try to somehow maintain that clarity of intent and parameters.
Yeah, and I think we're going to work it out right here in conversation, right? In the network of conversations. That's what I keep coming back to, which paradoxically is both centralized and decentralized. Centralized because there's a single point of entry, and there's, you know, now a volunteer core of hosts hosting at different times of the day, different days of the week. And you know, so it's centralized, but it's also just it's also very flat, right, in terms of hierarchy. And it's decentralized in the sense that if BJ says, I want to talk pomegranates, she gets a room. Everyone gets, you know, there's just infinite space for growth, right? It's kind of like a Burning Man where there's just infinite space, right? And you just keep growing out from there in concentric circles or whatever. Anyway, we'll figure it out. It's a very important question, right? And it's one of many, right, that we need to sort out. And we're in the process of sorting them all out. And in fact, maybe we should go into breakout rooms to start to pick apart some of these specific ones. Maybe not tonight. We're right at the end of the second 2-hour food healer 2-hour segment, but we're going to spill a little bit over time because I want to make sure those who've been patiently waiting can speak, starting with, did you say your name was Summer Rose? Ramble on, baby. Settle down easy. Ooh, Summer Rose. All right, Summer Rose followed by Linda. Go for it, Summer.
So it's kind of interesting, you know, we have like the Black Lives Movement, and then the Me Too movement was pretty big, has been pretty big. I mean, the Black Lives Movement has completely gone mainstream now, which is exciting. And then the Me Too movement, I think that's coming up behind it. But there's an interesting correlation between the Me Too movement and Moo Too, because all of these cows that we are abusing typically are females. Another thing we're doing, we're actually attacking the family network. We're breaking families apart. What are we doing at the border? What are we doing in these, you know, calf lots? So I really see, you know, Black Lives Matter is huge. Me Too movement is huge. Moo Too, how we can relate those together and really get this into the mindset. Hey, this is mothers and babies that we're talking about when we're dealing with like what's going on in these slaughterhouses. and these cows, like maybe we can have sounds, the bellowing of these cows when their babies are taken from them, how they cry for days on end when their babies are stolen from them. And I don't think people really get that. They're not connecting how it's all related, just like Black Lives Matter and the fact that there was slavery. These cows are slaves. You know, there's really no separation when it comes to it. The person, you know, just like every movie, the same storyline, just different characters. So these movements are similar in their storylines, it's just different characters. Black people, the cows, you know, females. So it's interesting how it really all is a marriage of love and unity and freedom and liberation and autonomy and respecting autonomy, that I just, you know, when we talk about these things, it's just nice to have these little marketing ways to like communicate to people that it's not just a cow, you know, it's not, this is family that we're messing with. And why do all families end in divorce? Well, maybe because we're breaking up families and we're willing to eat broken up families all the time, you know, so just wanted to point that out. Thanks.
And that's why we're going to sing, "We are family. Mutu and Shutu and Butu and me," right? So, you know, all of Charlotte's Web and me. All right. Including Linda too. All right, Linda, go for it. Thank you, Summer Rose.
Sure.
Thanks, Damon. In answer to your question, population of Tempe is 194,213. I had a question as to whether or not you have a proposed rollout date.
Yeah, I would just say as soon as possible. I'm working on getting the donations lined up, and I could use some help. Silas is going to be working on getting the commercial kitchen lined up, and he could use some help. And we need to get volunteers lined up, truck drivers. We need to get a bunch of stuff figured out, and we can use some help. So we can. What I would suggest is that as the conversation progresses, and we're now 7 days a week, 12 hours a day minimum, right? Obviously today we're 24. But excuse me. I say that we make this an ongoing priority, and that basically at every conversation, if there are people who want to talk food, we prioritize that, give them a breakout room, right? And when I say we, I'm talking to those of us here who are volunteer hosts. And if you'd like to be a volunteer host, just let me know and you'll get added to the email list. It's really simple. We just email everybody on the list. Everybody replies all up. Yep, I'll host tomorrow. Okay. Yep, I got it on Thursday. It's pretty simple. I'm just saying, hosts of the conversation, let's prioritize and facilitate food healers. I don't care what day it is or what time of the day. We've got to get on this and stay on it until it's done. That'll answer the question when it'll be done. Because what we're doing here is revolutionary across so many different dimensions. It defies categorization. We're birthing this mega hyper object, right? And it defies categorization as a movement. Well, is it centralized? Is it decentralized? It's both. It's like that weird biological creature that's like both plant and animal or something like that, and sponge, right? And shroom. And, you know, it's like, you know, it's like one of those weird things. So that's this, right? And we got to get comfortable with the weirdness. You know, it's like, where's the there, you know? Well, there is a there here in a sense. But there, in other senses, there isn't, because again, BJ could say, "I want to talk about pomegranates," and that's just kind of her person. I'm just kidding. Sorry, I poke fun at the people I feel that, you know, we have the strongest connection and that they'll take it. So if that happens, it's a compliment. Anyway, so you know, it's both centralized and decentralized, but it needs to be centralized because we need focus. We need to put the focus on Tempe. All the donations, everything. We focus on Tempe. Why? So that we can do the press conference there and then get all the dominoes tumbling. This is the singular pathway, right? That's what I'm proposing. If somebody's got a better idea, go for it. And Linda, back to you.
Is there a particular reason why you selected Tempe for the kickoff?
Stylish selected it.
Oh, okay.
And he lives there and he has a lot of contacts there, I think. I think those is, but some other cities were brought up. Jamin brought up a couple other cities.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to respond just briefly to something that Marco was saying about, his concerns of, different areas. And I guess my perspective on that is you will find what you're looking for. And so if we're not looking for obstacles, there's no stopping us. That's all.
Yeah, and that's it. That's it. And I think who was making that point earlier? Anyway, the point's been made. We just got to do this. We got to keep inviting everyone we know to the conversation. Let them know how exciting it is. Let them know how fun it is. Let them know that it's happening. All right. And we just keep organically growing until we've got enough breakout rooms covering enough topics that we get them all sorted out. And then we keep coming back to the main room. And this is where this is the centralized, half of the yin yang, right? Where here we huddle and we say, okay, how are we doing on donations? Okay, great. We're at 80%. Okay, good to know. How are we doing on the industrial kitchen? Well, we got 3 that we're talking with. Well, we got to get one of them all the way through the goalposts. So what do you need? Well, I could really use So and Summer Rose. They seem really good at, at getting stuff done. Okay, great. So Summer Rose, can you help? Okay, great. Why don't y'all meet in breakout room number 3 and get that sorted. Okay, how are we doing on delivery trucks? Well, we're talking with this and that, and what would really help is if Michael Gallo could call up, his uncle and, get that trucking thing sorted out, right? And, we're just gonna, because we're all getting to know each other, and as we do this, we will develop systems, right?
And what
The
was that
databases
strange, Jamie, what was
Yeah, go
that
ahead.
strange sponge animal you were just talking about?
I'm going to call it the I was trying to think of some name that includes your name. I'm not even going to try anymore. I've been hosting for 14 hours straight, so I'm getting a little bit.
The
Anyway,
Gaiocelium.
let's call it SpongeBob. Let's call it Gaiocelium. I like that one. Anyway. But what an amazing conversation and what an amazing movement. And the thing is, the two are inseparable. This movement is wedded at the hip with this medium. And this medium is undefined and undefinable because it's this hyper object that we're all co-creating. Not to get too woo-woo on you. All right, Ray, you got your hand up. Go for it.
You were mentioning focusing on Tempe. Is it also something that we could be doing to keep active with this? Is to start laying down the groundwork for our cities. If we're determined that I want to bring this project to Toronto, and we were talking about that concept of the truck that delivers and the industrial kitchen of I guess it has to be a pretty big kitchen. The other aspect of this was to engage churches, houses of worship, and of course they exist in every neighborhood. And that could be a way that we, transition this from the main kitchen, main truck force to empower those neighborhoods to have their own center of feeding. And this becomes ways to empower communities that really are part of the strategy that everybody has for resilience in facing climate change and facing economic collapse due to pandemics. Our communities need to be strengthened, and I mentioned earlier in the first broadcast that I think churches, really have to step up. They have gotten a lot of bad press. They've lost a lot of followers in organized religion, probably because people understand spirituality, but they don't understand the structures of churches and their role in communities. So if they want to be relevant, stay relevant in communities, feed people, at least feed people, show the compassion that you believe in your heart, and do good on your organized religion by organizing food. So think of the places in your city that you know. I know a vegan Catholic priest. Do you think this is somebody who's going to be interested in this project? He's screened Prayer for Compassion. And why haven't I invited him to these meetings yet? I'll try to get him to come to the next meeting. There are churches that we've served vegan food at, so we know they're veg friendly already. And there's a Jain temple just north of, I was waiting to get into Costco, and I noticed there's a Jain temple across the street that were having a big celebration, and they were marching around in the parking lot. So I know there's a Jain temple, and they're fundamentally very friendly with the vegan concepts. So, and Seventh-day Adventists, if you have Seventh-day Adventists in your area. In fact, I can imagine if the House of Worship concept really catches on, that Linda Loma, California may be another place to have an early installment of the K-Mama app, because the Seventh-day Adventists are famously healthy, and largely because they abstain from animal products. Dana pointed out that a lot of churches are really doing good works, such as these things. It's, I worked at a church as a video editor for a televised church service on and off for 20 years. So there is a great desire to reach the world. They don't necessarily do it for the same reasons. There's a bit of resistance to the idea of climate change in evangelical circles, which is unfortunate, but there are those people that in that community, there's evangelical climate scientists that I know of that need to be a powerful voice in this movement.
Well, you just gave me a big inspiration. BJ first, and then I'll pile on with my inspiration. Go for it, BJ.
Okay, thank you. I was just remembering that Austin has Food Not Bombs, and so does Amarillo, and so do a lot of places. So, and also there are churches around here who do provide food. It's just not in this fashion. It's not vegan, and it's not consistent. I'm trying to think of what's different. They'll occasionally do it. There's a food bank. So I'm just mulling that over out loud with you.
Good. Well, here's my inspiration is, what we're talking about here is a way to make it consistent. That's the key. We're going to come in and, like a benevolent Monty Python foot, we're just going to stamp out hunger in Tempe. We're going to stamp out hunger in Tucson. We're going to stamp it out in Pittsburgh. It's just wherever we go, it's a stamp out. It's just done and done. Now, the inspiration I just got listening to Ray is the reality is that the Catholic Church is in competition with the Lutheran Church, is in competition with the Presbyterian, is in competition with, you name it, right? They're all in, basically a friendly competition. So check this out. For any given city, the reality is that someone is going to take the lead. Okay. And I don't think it's going to take the Catholics too long to realize that, wait a second, we got this badass network that spans the globe. Why don't we just jump in, take the dang lead, shake down all the parishioners for whatever they can donate, shake down the Vatican for what it can donate, shake down the diocese, and just, let's make this a Catholic loaves and vegan fishes thing, right? voila. Meanwhile, the Presbyterians aren't going to be asleep at the wheel. They're going to say, all right, okay, where's our strongholds? All right, in the Midwest, here we got to do this, let's get on it, because the Catholics are beating us to it, and we're going to look like the ones who didn't care, while the Catholics are the ones out there feeding everyone. Screw that. Or however a good Presbyterian would say, screw that, right? And so on. And it's just going to happen because someone is going to take the lead in every city, period. In some cases, it'll be the city government that takes the lead and says, hey, we don't want to be left out of the race. I want to get reelected. Let me feed everyone. And so I see some really good competition emerging here, and for good reason. You know what? If there's a bunch of 3-year-old girls starving over there, there damn well better be a stampede to feed them. Right? Right? This needs to be not an arms race, but a food race until everyone is fed. And whoever gets to you first, you're going to feel really great about that. Church, mayor, right? Nonprofit, fill in the blank. Right? You're going to feel great about whoever got to you and fed you first. When you were hungry, when your kids were hungry, that knock at the door came, and oh my God, it changed your life. Oh, thank you for this food. Thank you. Yeah, and I'll be back in 2 days to give you more. What? And then every 2 days. Yeah. This is ongoing. You're never going to go hungry again. The tears are not, you won't be able to stop the tears. You will not be able to stop the tears. And the race will be on.
Danny wrote in the chat, moms. Are those with leaf blowers?
With or without leaf blowers?
With or without.
With or without. That's it.
And I know sometimes we want to emphasize collaboration, right? So there may be some competition. I feel that in churches that they want to, we're the best church. We're the best church. And so I know that would catch some of them. We want to be there first. We're the ones that really saw. We were the compassionate ones. So I can hear that. But we may also want to encourage the collaboration.
Of course. Here's the thing. What I'm really saying is this thing is just going to be, it's going to be like the Beatles. Try containing that, right? Try getting 14-year-old girls to stop singing, I want to hold your hand. I want to hold your hand.
Yeah, okay, so we need a song.
We need a bunch of songs.
Well, we need Paul McCartney. Let's get him on board. Want me to contact?
Okay, no, now we're talking. Oh my goodness, no, we're going to round up. If James is still awake, look, James.
How about Willie Nelson? He's big on Farm Aid.
Yeah, he is.
All right. Well,
Jon Stewart has a rescue farm, and Jon Stewart's so loved. Get him on board.
Oh, yes.
And Billie Eilish is beating us to the punch. She's feeding people already.
Yes, she is.
Well, then let's get Billy over here. Dang it. What's the holdup? Let's put out the invitations. Look, our work is really simple. We got to keep showing up, and we got to keep bringing more people. That's what we got to do, because many hands make heavy work light. Let's lighten the load and let's make it happen. Let's get the job done.
Yeah.
And we got to start in one city, because whatever city we start in, that's when we do the press conference that changed the world. That will be the shot. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, my mother had a saying that I love: nothing to it but to do it.
That's it. Enough talk. Let's do it. But what's interesting here is the first sequence of actions are talk, are meetings. This is real work, if you haven't noticed. It's hella fun, and it's real work.
Pitter
All
patter,
right.
let's get at her.
Pardon me?
Pitter patter, let's get at her.
Pitter patter, let's get at her.
I've
Exactly.
been told this is a Canadian phrase.
It is. And
Better
and the,
Kenny made it popular.
and the reason is because it matters. Life matters. Our brothers and sisters matter. All of them, of all peoples, of all species. We got to feed everybody, and we got to cool the planet. That's it. And the axis is right here, the conversation. It's time for a conversation.
Did
So
you
here we
say
are.
Did you say a third? Did you say another one, Ray? You said pitter patter, let's get at her. And was there another one? or did I couldn't hear that?
Because it matters.
Oh, because it matters. Thank you.
All right.
Summer
Get her
said
done.
no talkie, no walkie.
Get her done.
Gotta play, gotta laugh, gotta keep it real.
Wasn't that an Austin, Texas one? Get her done.
Get her done.
Get her done, boy.
A little song, a little dance, a little seltzer down your pants.
I hadn't heard that one. Oh, goodness.
Wait, I missed it. A little song, a little dance, and what was the rest?
A little seltzer down your pants.
I like that.
No talkie, no walkie. Here's one I heard.
Sounds like it'd be more distracting than anything.
Well, who wants to go into a breakout room and do musical explorations with Jamin Shively? I feel like singing and just coming up with songs.
You guys start without me. I had a little seltzer accident here. I'll catch up with you.
He put seltzer down his pants while we weren't looking.
I'll go for the song fest.
Don't judge till you try it.
All right. Songfest. Okay. Who was that, Linda? For the Songfest?
It was. I'll even bring my auto harp.
Oh my goodness. All right. Anyone else for Songfest?
I'm going to take a break and may not make it back for a while.
Are we doing that
Yeah.
instead of showing this video, or are we going to show the video?
No, I see what you're saying. I'll tell you what, let's take a rain check on the Songfest. I've been hosting for 14 and a half hours straight. Either, hosting or Uber hosting, but in any case, I've been responsible for the space. Happily so. Having said that, 14 and a half hours is kind of a long time. And I've been learning to kind of pace myself, because here's, the vision here is that when we get to 24/7, we'll have hosts 168 hours a week, right? And basically on a mission to save life on Earth. How exciting could that be? Anyway, so Summer, I'm going to make you want me to make you host, Summer? Hostess? Okay. And then first, let's clarify. Do y'all want to keep recording, or do you want to take a break from recording and broadcasting? What are people feeling?
Well, I know the movie is like about an hour. I don't know if you're wanting to record the movie as well as the conversation after the movie. And then basically this movie is, it's called Earth's Energetic Systems and Effects on Human Consciousness. So it's basically what we were talking about, a lot of HeartMath. This is basically from HeartMath and the Global Coherence Initiative project. So that's what it's about. So I don't know if we want to record that. Want another copy of it? You can. Up to you. If that's
Well,
what we
here's the
do.
thing. If we did record, then it's, number one, it gives us the whole history of the whole thing. And then also it gives you the option of pausing for Q&A, or if people have questions in between or whatever. I don't know. I'm just, my, if it were up to me, I would say, yeah, sure, why not record? But I'm not going to be here. I'm going to take a break for the night. And so it's really up to whoever is here to figure out if y'all want to record or not.
How does the recording happen? Like, who does it? Where does it get saved? What do we do?
Yeah, I would do it, save it on, it gets saved to my hard drive, and then I would upload it to YouTube afterwards.
Okay, so you just stop this recording and then you're just going to start another one and take off, and it'll all just be done automatically?
Yeah, if everyone's cool with that, that's what I propose. And then I would basically stop the recording and start a new one before I go to bed, you know, and because ideally you don't go too much farther over 4 hours, because then you end up having to bust them up to get them up on YouTube. See, when you run 24-hour block parties, you learn these things. And so about every 4 hours is a good rule of thumb. But I can just do that, and then when I go to bed, I start a new recording. When I get up in the middle of the night, I start a new recording, whatever. Happy to do that.
Hey, Summer, can you say the name of it? Because I'll post it on the harmonic convergence page that we're showing it now.
Okay, let me get the exact name. Wait, escape out here.
Hey, Jamin, I got a quick question for you.
Yes, Michael.
Interactions between Earth energetic systems and human consciousness. You want a screenshot? Oh.
I'm doing that on my phone.
The question is, on our breakout, which we went several hours, it was recorded, and I assume that you received that recording?
I don't know. Did it say record to the cloud or record to computer?
It never said. I started recording at the beginning, and when I stopped, it said that it would send an MP3 file later, but it didn't say where. It didn't give me any choice.
Yeah, it probably went to the cloud. So first of all, thank you for recording. That's awesome. Yeah. Does anyone know, did Vegans of Color? Yeah, awesome. Did Vegans of Color record the breakout room? I'm just curious if anyone here was in Vegans of Color. Charlie, weren't you in that one? I forget. Anyway, no big deal. I was just curious. Anyway, so bottom line, do y'all want to record, or are y'all feeling it? If anyone's not, just indicate that. All right, great. So here's what I'll do. Summer Rose, let me stop recording this one, which is the second Food Healers one.